Hello, everybody.
What's happening, Retro?
Hi, Doug. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, man. This
Awesome.
is like I've been looking forward to this all week. I had a wonderful conversation at Hold My Dual Shocks channel. We had a fantastic talk about the season. Actually, we've been following the entire episode by episode throughout the entire second season of House of Dragon or House of the Dragon, and it is really, really exciting stuff. I just wanted to say hi to Sherry Lee. Sherry Lee,
Hi,
hi.
Sherry Lee. What's up,
Hello,
Pete?
everyone. I'm really looking forward to the conversation tonight. Me too.
Well,
And
and
Keith E says
Retro,
I'm here on my phone. Yes.
that is a warrior, Keith. Right
Yes.
on.
Thank you so much,
Um,
Keith.
and Retro, I watched your entire video with Hold My Dual Shock
Oh,
for the
wonderful.
season. First off, it was a great discussion, and B, I ended up subscribing to them. They got a good little
Ah,
thing going too. I
yes,
like them. I
yes.
like Hold My Dual Shock.
One of the most exciting new channels to come onto YouTube. These guys are going to be so successful. They've grown so far so quickly, and so I am just so glad that we got a chance to hang out together. They hung out with me for my watch party for Rebel Moon, a director's cut, and that
Oh,
was a
cool.
lot of fun. That was so much fun. It was so hopefully I'll be able to do something fun with them in the future. Maybe I could have them on for like a watch party or something. We're
Very,
working on
very cool.
things.
Yeah, they were a
Yeah.
good group, and your discussion with them was fantastic.
Well, thank you, thank you. And I also watched the discussion you had on Heath's channel, the Table Talk channel. I absolutely loved it. I wish I could have been there because I was the two talks were happening at the very same time. I was
Right.
hoping that you guys were going to have a long, like 3 hour discussion, and I was like, they're going to really tear into this, and you
What's
guys
funny
were.
is at some point while we were talking, I looked at Hold My Dual Shock, and I was like, she's still on there. I was like, so I guess. And then we signed off, and then you signed off at like the same time.
Oh, yeah.
It was just that long of a convo, no matter where you were.
Yeah, yeah, and I have a knack for like whenever I'm done with a broadcast or a live stream, I like to look at it, see
Right.
where I could tweak or like, oh, you were really silly in that moment, or there are a couple that I really like do. So even the ones we do, I rewatch those often because it just is a good information for me to know like how I'm doing in front of the camera. But otherwise than
Right.
that, let's get into this. Okay. So
Let's do it.
I wanted to kind of, for anybody who's kind of seeing this for the first time, wondering what is, the House of Dragons, like, what is this thing? And I do have sort of like a little presentation. I'll talk a little bit about the about it. And if you can hold on for 1 second, I am gonna um, do sort of a I have to download the little piece. But while I'm doing that, can you just give me a few thoughts that you have about House of Dragons show?
Yes. Yes. So when Retro asked me to have this discussion, I also wanted to have it too because there's I think we all went through a certain phase here or couple stages. One
Mhm.
was disappointment in the way season 2 ended. I was watching it. Now I love
Mhm.
House of the Dragon, so I'm
Yeah.
into this show.
Mhm.
And I was watching it. At some point, I held up my remote and I was like, "How much longer is left?" So I moved it so I could see the bar at the bottom, and I was like, "Oh, like 5 minutes." I was like, "There's not going to be a major battle."
Yeah.
So I went through the grief stage of oh god, this wasn't. And then I went through the but I'm not giving up on the show stage. And then
Mm.
I had a couple conversations with different people. And when Retro's like, I want to discuss why this show is still worth holding on, I was like, yes, let's have that discussion because I'm not ready to throw it away. I'm not angry at it like I have been with other shows. So I think
Yeah.
what we're going to do tonight is make our case
Yes.
for why you should not lose hope or faith in the show and why you should really look forward to season 3.
Yes, I absolutely that is exactly it completely because I know that it could look and basically every single video that I've ever seen about somebody who says, "Oh, we're disappointed about the ending sequence," they've all said how much they love the show. They
Yes.
not said that this is bad television or anything like that. They've just said the ending that left you a little bit without feeling satisfied and or feeling like you had a great meal. And sadly, that happened. But I'm just gonna, from my perspective, from somebody who is knowledgeable about what is going to happen in the story, according to the written material, this is actually moving along quite well. It's just the timing of it may be a little bit off. And we're also going to talk about maybe a little bit behind the scenes reasons why why I'm coming up with this. And I'm not the only one because it seems appropriate based on some news that articles that have come out. So,
Right.
um, before I get into okay, I'm having a little technical difficulties, guys, just bear with me.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to put together this really cute little just visual for us to have some visual context on what's happening and um let's see if I can get that
Am
done.
I about? Went to share a screen. Is that messing it up?
No, no, no. Let's see. Let's add your screen on here. Let's see.
Okay, let me zoom in then. I wanted to show everybody
Ooh, thank you,
number
Doug.
one
You're
on Nielsen.
fantastic.
Number one. This is overall. There are 4 categories, and you can see them up here. There's the overall, original programming,
Mhm,
acquired programming, and then just straight movies. So
mhm.
the big chart is the overall, and sitting on the top of the mountain is House of the Dragon. So
That's wonderful.
this is the show. This is the big show. Last week when I checked the Nielsen ratings, House of Dragon. So a couple weeks ago, it was at like number 5 or 6, and it
Mhm,
stayed there. And then
mhm.
last week it jumped up to number 3, and then this week it's up to number 1. So word is out. This is a good show. Word of mouth is going on. Everyone's tuning in. The other shows are not competing against it very well. It's got a pretty noticeable lead. Like if you look down that chart and see how much every like the lead that number 2 has over 3 is like a hair's breadth. Same thing
Mhm.
between 3 and 4. Like they're very minimal leads. That's true all the way down the line, except for number 1 and number 2, which is House
Wow,
of the Dragon.
wow, wow, wow.
So
And
this movie is a cultural touchstone.
yes.
People are watching and
Mhm.
people are into this. So this is a good show.
Yes, thank you so much, Doug, for that visual, and for us to be able to see that. I just wanted to acknowledge some people in the chat really quickly. We've got My Flock is everywhere. Hello, so great to see you here. And let's see, Kimberly is here. Hello, Kimberly. How are you? Black Lion is here. Oh, I got Black Lion is here. I'm so happy for you to get this interview. Oh, okay. Well, we're doing more than just the interview. We're gonna have a deep discussion about this. Hopefully,
Yes.
you guys are gonna enjoy it. And please, tell me any thoughts you have. And Keith E is so so the only one good character is Sea Smoke. You're so
I'll agree that Sea Smoke is a good character.
it's a good character. Like all the dragons are amazing.
Oh my God.
So cool. So okay. I'm gonna add my little and I wanna let me just uh put it a little. I didn't want it that big. See if I can rearrange it. No, that takes you out of it. Let's see. This might be better. Yeah, there we go. So House of Dragon really. I just wanted to start off with sort of the backstory of where this is coming from because the understanding the reason why characters are doing what they're doing is such a big piece of this. And how does
Can I make a couple setup comments for what I think you're going to get into?
okay, yeah.
So real quick, just to address preemptively,
Hmm.
um, people who might be frustrated with the way House of Dragon ended. One of the primary criticisms is that it was generally slower and that the story seemed to go nowhere and that the season ended essentially where it began, with war about to break out. Those are the primary criticisms, and I don't think myself or Retro are going to refute those criticisms. Because I think both of us agree. What Retro is going to do is show you why that happened and I think what's coming next. So I think I just wanted to address the elephant in the room, which is there are some valid criticisms about
absolutely. I don't disagree with anything that a lot of people are saying, actually. And again, most of the times when people are saying the things that they're saying, they're also saying, but the show was really good. So that's also part of it. So if you have not seen this show, I do urge you to see the first series, the first season. It was really good. So it sets you up for what to kind of expect. And when you look at the first season and you look at the second season, and you'll probably say to yourself, it's very even keeled as far as, would you say this, Doug, as far as like the pacing of both of these seasons? They're relative. I would say they're not much, there wasn't like a heap of action and craziness that were happening in the first season. It was just setting up the characters, and you did get a few moments of wow factors.
Totally. I would say that the pacing is similar. I think the main difference is it felt like this season less moves of consequence. In some episodes where there wasn't much happening. I think that was the main difference. But in terms of moving pieces on the board, season 1 was like that. Season 2 was like that. And I would even argue that episode 4 of season 2 was one of the best episodes we've ever gotten, with the dragon warfare and the death of Prince Rhaenyra. So, I mean, that episode blew my hair back.
Yeah, that was great.
I loved it. Yes, we didn't just see dragons shooting fire at each other.
Oh no!
I mean, they were up in the sky. There were multiple opponents facing each other. There was surprise opponents. There was dragons biting other dragons in the neck. There was. I even felt emotion when the one dragon looks back at Princess Rhaenyra, kind of like, "We've had a long road. Looks like this is the end, ain't it?" And then they go.
I know. It's
actually sad. So I was like, the high that episode 4 hit, I thought was extremely high, and that was in season 2. I think most of us, and I don't know if I'm speaking for everyone here or not, but I was very patient with the slow pacing of episodes 5, 6, 7, because I expected a big finale, and I didn't get it. So that's where I feel there was a huge letdown that most of you in the chat probably feel. Most of you watching, if you're watching later, will probably feel the same way. There is that sense of letdown, but
yes, there is.
Again, Retro will show hope is not to be lost.
Yeah, definitely. And just to get some comments from some ideas of what people are saying, Kimberly says, can't wait for season 3. Awesome. Terrace is here. Terrace House Guy is here. And Black Panther is also here. It says, boring. David was sidelined to me for some reason. And
he was misused.
I will say this: the books also had him did less with him. The books did less with him.
Oh wow!
So they actually pumped him up a little bit.
Interesting.
So let's see. And Maria Kelly is here. Oh, that's so sweet. It's so great to see you. And poor thing. Tara says, felt like a gut punch. Oh no! I hope that it's not too, not too, doesn't hurt too much. I'm so sorry that it felt like that. And Maria says, I'm watching this and I'm waiting for a call from my doctor. Oh, I hope everything is okay, Maria. I hope I'm going to send you good vibes and good wishes.
I will send healing good vibes.
Yeah, very, very good vibes. Your doctor says, "Oh, everything is wonderful."
Yes.
And Tara says yes. Still tuning in for season 3, of course. Yes, and it has a
Yay.
smiley
So
face.
I was telling Retro I have a couple reasons for my positive attitude
Mhm.
about House of the Dragon, despite my feelings of total letdown with the finale.
Yes.
I got over the letdown, and I realized that this day and age, there's rage in a lot of shows. If shows
Yeah.
don't deliver, people can get really angry. Fandoms
Oh.
can really turn against a show.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, this isn't that kind of show that deserves rage. It doesn't deserve it. It's not incompetent like
Yes.
The Acolyte.
Mhm.
It's not off-brand. It's not betraying the spirit of the subject matter.
Mhm.
It was just slower, and it didn't have the big bang at the end.
Yes.
So I told myself, I'm not going to turn on the show. I'm going to stay invested in it, and I guarantee everyone's coming back for season 3, no matter how upset you were
Yes.
at the end of season 2. All will be forgiven.
I think so. I think so. At least with episode 1 and 2 is going to be like crazy. Darth Plato is here. Hello, Darth Plato. Says can't have this cover without me in the chat. Yes, we can't. We can't. So
Darth
glad
Plato's
that you're
awesome. He
here.
had such great knowledge,
Mhm.
both inside the subject matter of the story and then outside context
Oh
coming in.
yes,
So he had
I
great
saw
stuff.
that video. I saw the on Outcast Creative, my friend Lance's channel, that you guys were there, and I saw all of that, and uh he had a great knowledge of medieval processes.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, wow, I did not know. I need to like call him up for like information about. Okay, now I'm writing a character that's in the medieval times. Then they're doing some negotiation. What should they be doing?
Yes.
So he knew all about that. That's really so awesome. And Maria says, looking forward to season 3. Season 2 was slower than season 1, but they did have some shocking moments. Yeah, they did. I mean, really, really incredible moments. So I wanted to just refresh us a little bit on season 1 really quickly, not too deep. Very flustered. Everybody knows that this is by the book, part of the book, Fire and Blood. And there are lots of different stories in there, but this is documenting the stories. And this is all starting from way, 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 way back when the first series decided like no women were going to be the rulers of the throne. And as you can see here, this is sort of the family picture um, of the former king. And so the former king, you can see that Viserys is with his wife there, and she's pregnant with Rhaenyra. On the other side, you can see that Rhaenyra is there, and she's alongside Corleone. And there, she was supposed to have the throne technically.
Right.
She was up for the throne, but she could not have it. So her brother instead took the throne, which was very. I don't think, no, it wasn't even her brother. It was her nephew took the throne, which was sort of a big smack in the face. So she's like, so she has to sit back for generations and generations to be looked over for the throne. But finally, we get to the time where Daemon is the brother of Viserys, and Daemon is the younger brother. He's second in line, but he has never been, he's not first. So it's always second place, never first for him. And he has always wanted the throne so much. He wants it so bad.
Yes, he does.
So bad.
He's chomping at the bit.
Yeah. And so he, at any chance to undermine his brother, he will do so. And he's just been terrible. But realizing that his brother is not worthy of the throne, he would have given it to him if he was worthy. If he felt his brother was worthy, he would have given his brother the throne, Viserys, that is. But instead, he gave it to his daughter, Rhaenyra, and
Right.
who was not supposed to actually have the throne because she was a woman. And so there are certain people who are like, oh, we will. They pledge themselves to accept her as their queen if something were to happen to him,
Right.
and so a lot of those people are keeping those pledges and current, the current season, and some of them are not. They don't care. They are willing to forego that in order to maintain the status quo. And
Right.
so, alongside all of this, we have a young girl who is she herself. I'm not sure if she is actually ambitious, but her father is. And he puts her in place to take care of all of these kings when they get sick. So she was
Yes.
she take care of the previous king, and he died. But now she's also Rhaenyra's mother dies in childbirth, trying to give birth to another child, and he is mourning her loss, and also his health is failing. So here comes this wonderful girl who is 15, and yeah, she becomes his new bride. So that she's also the best friend of Rhaenyra. So this is a very, very entwined story. And
Yes.
I love the fact that they went for all of these complexities about these characters, and that makes it really hard for us to see them today. Let's see. While we're before I get any further, I noticed there's a lot of new people in the chat. So glad to see you guys. Let's just see. Maria says, I think that the show did a great job of matching each actress who played Allison and Rhaenyra as they age. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Oh, that's so sweet. And Darth Vader says, the reason why women were not preferred to the throne, whether in history or Westeros, is because power was seen as residing foremost in armies, and war was the domain of men. That
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So Darth Plato is correct. I'm writing a story about a Byzantine empress right now, book 2 actually, and one of her observations, and it's kind of a theme that she put, is the awareness of the kind of intermingling of the military order, which keeps the society alive, and the government. And so women were largely outside of that. And so that there were some practical reasons. It wasn't an evil conspiracy in each case, but there were practical reasons. You had to have someone who the army would follow and listen to and bend a knee to. And if you had to go to war, defend your throne, you wanted someone who could command the respect and admiration of the men who fought in the armies.
Yeah. It's so true, and that makes sense to me. Bonzo Kilborn is here. Hello, Bonzo. How are you? Says, I'm giving the season 2 a very angry thumbs down. Oh no, this count is under protest because I don't even want to talk about it. But
Bonzo is ticked.
Yes, for Retro Nerd Girl, I'll soldier on. Thank you so much, Bonzo. I appreciate it so much. Yeah,
for your queen, Bonzo.
It can be really touchy because it is like, you know, I think a lot of people were invested, and so by the end, if you felt a little bit down on it, it can just take away from all the excitement and the hype that you were feeling. You were like, yeah, man,
Totally.
So I totally get it.
Yeah, and Bonzo, I don't fault you. I don't fault anybody who's got harsh criticism. I went through it myself. I just want to remind people that Shogun, which premiered earlier this year, which I thought was fantastic. I loved Shogun. It was some of the best TV I've seen in a long time. Also had a rather flat season finale. As mad as I was, still can't wait for season 2. I'm not going anywhere. And that's something I mentioned on Lance's channel on the Outcast Creative. When Empire Strikes Back came out,
oh yeah,
it ended keep in mind how it ended. Luke
Oof.
loses, the rebel base routed, Han captured and frozen, Princess Leia barely hanging on, and then it ends.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? What is this? I remember as being a kid and my father talking to his what was his college roommate at the, in the past, who became a movie critic for a newspaper. They were discussing Empire Strikes Back, and the major thing they discussed was, man, that did not end on a high note. How could you have this be a sequel? This is bad storytelling.
Yeah.
Guess who says that today? Nobody, because we got to the next story. And I think the same thing will happen here with House of the Dragon.
Yeah. And they must deliver a season that's like, toward the four. Like it must be amazing. Like they must not hold back on anything. Yeah, they cannot hold back on anything. And based on the story, like stuff is going to go down, and they don't have anywhere else to go but to get into this war.
They're out of room.
There really isn't. I mean, they really don't have any choice. So they need to scrape up the funds that they need to make for the special effects and all the stuff that they need to do for season 3, because it's got to go down.
Well, I have heard that season 3 will have the biggest budget yet.
Ooh, okay.
So it's supposed to have a much bigger budget.
It will need it. It will need a huge budget for what it's about to do, because there's going to be dragons. There's the dragons are here.
There be dragons here.
And Chef Nation is here. So great to see you. It's good afternoon, beautiful people. Oh, good afternoon to you as well. So great to see you. And Maria Kelly says, after watching House of the Dragon, I'm beginning to think that Matt Smith might make a good James Bond. Oh, I never thought about that.
You know what, Maria? I heard someone, it was a woman. God, I forgot who it was. It was a woman on YouTube, and she described Matt Smith as a handsome Frankenstein. I thought that was the funniest description I've ever heard.
Oh, wow. And more I'm sorry, you guys have a lot to say in the chat. Oh my goodness.
That's
And Dara says, for us over in the UK, the feeling of staying up until 2 a.m. to watch each episode to then hit that by non-finale leave us in such a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm really sorry. I feel bad. Like I'm saying sorry for the show, but I mean, I also feel like I understand. I've been there. I've like watched shows, and I've like been like, oh, where's the rest? And I was there too with you guys watching the show, and I was like, oh, the battle, where's it? Where's my battle? And there's a couple of things that they could have done, and I feel we're going to talk about that. A couple of things they could have done to pump up the story just a little, to give us a little bit more for. So that we wouldn't be so forlorn for a more exciting ending.
I want to hear your theory. I have my own. Maybe it's even the same, but I have my own
awesome
wish on what they could have done to end it, to give us something instead of nothing.
And Pedro says they could have at least shown 2 battles, and the Blackens and the Blackwoods, and they actually technically they only needed to show 1 battle, and that was the Battle of the Gullet, and that would have been enough to curl your toes, and it would be on equal par as to their last season's ending, actually, but they did not want to do that. Sergeant is here. Hello, Sergeant Giratana's Rising Renegade. So great to see you hanging out with us. And Chef Nation says season 1 banger. They kept it close to the book, and a few Hollywood parts in season 2 fell flat when they went off the book many times. As a person who read the book, I'm not happy. I understand, yes. And
I agree.
I think with Blood and Cheese, I think they definitely could have there was a loss there. There was a loss there, because I don't know why they didn't go full book on that. Like,
well, you know what, Retro is, I actually liked the Blood and Cheese episode,
I
until
like it
you
too.
told me what the book had. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Sorry. Sorry.
oh
Sorry.
my God, that would have been so much better.
Yeah. There's so much more detail in the book that you can't. I'm like, you've gotta keep the details that are really cool from the book, and then
Yes.
add your extra flavor into it. But I digress, and and Darth Vader says, in the event when women in power were visible in war, like Elizabeth Tilbury's speech in the Spanish Armada War, or Mary of Austria as regent of Burgundy, both wore armor of sorts. Okay,
Right.
yeah, because you got to have the respect of the I suppose that even the men, when they were
Yes.
out,
Well,
they had to wear armor too, just to look the part.
well, and if you were a man back then who didn't have command of the army, you ain't going anywhere. You're not going to the throne either. So it wasn't just women that the army was a problem for. A losing commander would lose his chance at becoming emperor in some cases. And that's why almost every ruler in every culture, especially the further back you go, has a military version of their uniform
Yes, and
or their.
I'm gonna scan down just a little bit. I hope you guys, if you have something very important that you need to say, just go ahead and repost it. I'll mention it. But I wanted to thank Chef Nation for becoming a brand new member of the channel. Thank you so very much.
Welcome,
And
chef. That's awesome.
yes, and I have a special thank you for you. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, more.
I love
You
those.
guys are just so wonderful. You guys are just so sweet to me. And Darth Vader says, betrothals in medieval Europe were known to happen before some children were even born. Oh wow. Um,
Mhm.
and I was very uh, looking forward to something like that happening in the story, but they only suggested something to that effect. And Kimberly, thank you so much. I love being a lover of movies. Is been a member for a full month. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I have a thank you for you as well. Let's see. Uh, Here we go.
All right.
Okay. And thank you so very much. And let's see. Okay, so going on with this story here. Um, so these girls became friends, but it was really kind of a friendship of also like they were kind of smushed together. But all the while, Damon is working his magic on his niece. Okay, he is. There's an event in which he takes his niece out into the area with the small folk, and there's almost something that seems to be like uh, um, it almost looks like they're about to like do something that they
Cross
should.
the line.
Yes, cross the line. And well, that did not happen, but the young Rhaenyra, being a princess who is used to getting her way, and also is kind of uh, just like she just does her own thing. She seduces very aggressively, though, to the point of
Hmm.
uncomfortable, like it being uncomfortable. Her guard, uh,
For
Christian
Kristen.
Cole, yeah, and Christian, I'll say, is a very a guy who is upstanding at this point. He's an upstanding citizen or guard, and he really takes his job very seriously. And so this meant something more to him than it meant to Rhaenyra. She just thinks it's just physical stuff for her. He's thinking a little bit more, that hey, we could just run away together and be together, and and let's just elope. And she's like, no, I'm a princess.
Yeah, she's like, what are you, nuts?
What are you,
Run
crazy?
away with you? Well, and he was treated very heartthrobby, I would say, in season 1 as like this handsome knight who
Yes.
both, everyone wanted him. And his character changed quite a bit, I would say, by the end of season 2.
Yes, and it was. Um, and I love this. What Maria says: the two girls' relationship was kind of like mistress and beloved servant. Yes, she was sort of like the servant of the realm, but on a higher kind of basis. At this point,
Right.
Rhaenyra is speaking of the realm. She was the realm's delight at this point.
Oh yeah, Aegon of the Realm's Delight. That's what
Yes,
he
we
called
hear
her.
that reuse. It's really great. And so Christian is really distraught about this and is on the verge of suicide. The word I'm supposed to use is I'm supposed to use a different word. I don't know. YouTube is so weird. It doesn't like that word. Anyway,
Which word?
the S word that I just used. He
Oh,
wanted to,
really?
yeah, he wanted to uh, end things, and so um,
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
yes, and so Allison actually, and he mentions this the last episode. She actually stops him from doing that and says, "Work for me, and I'll take care of Don't worry about it." And that gives him hope again. And so that begins their relationship. Oh
Right.
yes, thank you, Tara. Self delete is a great
Yes.
word. Self delete. And so they create this alliance now, and so he has sort of pledged himself to her now, and Rhaenyra becomes the enemy. So that is
Yes.
really so. Well, Rhaenyra goes off and marries one of the sons of Corlys and Rhaenyra's, and he happens to not be interested in her, but she gets a lover. Um, and he is a strong. He's one of the strongs, and he all of the children that she has by him, I believe she has 3, have dark hair and have his
Yeah.
facial features. So people know that she's not doing things according to what the rules. She's cheating on her husband, which I mean, it's not really cheating because they've agreed to see other people, but it's those children are not his.
It's a
So
problem.
yeah, that's a big problem. They're illegitimate children. And
Right.
so as you see, the father is like interacting with these kids. Well, of course that can't be had, so he's deleted from the story
Yep.
by his
See you,
own
buddy.
brother. But there's also this rivalry between the boys, between Allison's boys and Rhaenyra's boys.
Well, and what I think is a fascinating dynamic here, and I love this, and it's a very unique and compelling conflict. You have the legitimate queen
Yes,
with illegitimate kids,
yes,
obviously illegitimate kids. And then you have an illegitimate queen
yeah,
with legitimate kids.
yeah.
So that is a very unique circumstance in storytelling, and this does a great job
Isn't
of
it interesting? It's fascinating,
yes,
and the way you can tell basically is the hair color. If that hair
yes,
color comes out dark, you're not quite you may have the gene, but you're not quite the thing. So yeah, that is fantastic. And so this is Rhaenyra's family. She the her husband is goes off somewhere. They stage a fake death. Um, and he's out of the picture. But then Damon is free to marry her, and she marries him, and they begin to have children together. Um, Rhaenyra, uh, as you can see, she has 3 boys by the strong fella, and so
as you can
that
see.
is, as you can clearly see. And then we have Damon's 2 daughters as well. So that's a cool little dynamic there. And so while Viserys is when he dies, this is the new dynamic in the kingdom. Is Allison sitting at the head, kind of, and with her father at one side and Cole on the other side, and they get to decide who are the next, who's next in line. And they make sure to place Aegon on the throne, which is really
Right.
interesting because they, through their manipulation, all of them are kind of wiped off the table later on. It's just
That's right. And
incredible.
these are tense moments because they're staking out a very serious path to the throne. And
Yeah.
those are like what's the word? Like a soft transition of power, which
Yeah.
are contestable and can
Yeah.
get real hot real quick. We saw that in Game of Thrones too.
Yeah. And here we see for sure Allison right at the head of the table. She's the one making these decisions. And that is something to think about when you look at season 2, where she was to where she is now, in the story. So just to lay out, this is Allison's family. Her 2 sons, Aegon, the eldest of them, and who is going to be king, or who is crowned king, and then you have Aemond, who lost his eye. And I think we kind of skipped over that part, but Aemon gets his eye taken out by, I believe it was Lucerys who did it. The young boy Lucerys did this, I believe, protecting one of the girls, one of their, I guess, sisters. They're not really sisters, but they're sisters in marriage. And one of Damon's young girls, and they were supposed to get Vhagar. I believe Rhaena was the one who was supposed to get Vhagar, the big giant dragon, and she didn't get that dragon. Let me go back and get the picture. Yeah, here he is. And she didn't get the dragon, but somehow Aemon snuck out there, and he made contact with that dragon, and now it's his. And so with that big huge dragon, you've got a huge power shift going on in the family. So but also that scene where he gets his eye taken out, was supposed to be a moment in which his mother was supposed to console him, and she instead waged war against Rhaenyra and the entire family. I want your son. I want I want your son's eye for my son's eye. And
right. She made a condition that wasn't going to be met.
Yeah. And it was just one of those horrible moments. Instead of saying, you lost your eye, but you've gained a dragon, and apologize for being a jerk to them, and it was their dragon you basically took. There was none of that. It was more about the pride of it all, and it became a big deal. And it kind of like this is like, from those decisions we've got more and more pain and suffering to do with the same kind of thing, where we have a son for son later on.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I love that. It is like a rhyme, but it makes sense. It's like it's storytelling rhyming, and I love
Did
that.
you just pull a Lucas?
It's Lucas. It's George Lucas again.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
but I do love that because it makes a lot of sense. Okay. Let's see. We're gonna keep going. Sorry about that, guys. I got distracted. All right, so we had the end of season 1 with the big dramatic thing where Lucerys, one of Rhaenyra's son, goes off to do some kind of negotiating, and it goes horribly wrong because Aemon is there with Vhagar and accidentally kills Lucerys in this incredible battle sequence. That's just like, it was supposed to be taunt. He was supposed to taunt him and scare him. He wasn't going to kill him, but he did. I know that in the books it specifically was like he went out to kill that boy, but in the story, the way it's done with the complexity, I like that. It was like, oh snap, I don't have control over this situation. Gives the Eamon a little bit more depth, gives the story a little bit more flavor, but also it's tragic at the same time. It's like, oh
Yeah,
man.
totally.
And you feel um for Rhaenyra for having to lose her son. So we start out season 2 with this awful moment when, which is so touching. I'm almost going to start tearing up. Where his brother, uh, Jace, has to tell his mother, "Hey, your son is dead," and it's
Yeah.
just awful. It's awful, and it's heart wrenching, and absolutely loved that scene. But also, it kind of broke my heart a little bit because nobody wants to have to see us or hear of a son dying or one of your children going like that.
As King
Oh,
Theoden said, no parent should ever have to bury their child.
yes, 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 and it's so true. It's just one of the sad moments, the saddest moments in the story, and Darth Vader says the accident angle was silly. Oh, he
Oh,
didn't like it so much. He wants let Aemon be ambitious and angry. Well, yeah, he definitely. I think he definitely achieved that.
well, I think he
But
was ambitious and angry. There was a book I read when I was a kid called A Separate Piece, and it was about there were two boys that climbed up a tree, and the one boy who was jealous of the other boy, like kind of kicked the branch that they were standing on, and the boy fell over and broke his back.
oh
And
Lord,
we discussed it, and what was interesting is that it wasn't like fully conscious what he had done, that he had kicked the branch like that,
yeah,
and yet he still did it. So
yeah,
there was a case made that this was subconsciously deliberate,
yeah,
even though it wasn't a fully realized action. And I feel like that's kind of what happened in that scene.
yeah. Yeah, I loved it, and John put it
Yeah.
says too many accidents and misunderstandings, and I think uh, that's why they're. I think that's why they're doing this angle, because they don't want you to think that the character doesn't have any emotional, uh, like that everybody is like just out for death, death, death. That it is kind of like, okay, well, maybe we want them to live. Maybe we want them to die now. Like we for sure wanted to kill his brother later on, though. Like Aemon. He definitely wanted to kill his brother. He wanted to, and he for sure killed Rhaenys on purpose. That's his great aunt. He killed, and
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean. You grew up your entire life seeing this lady in court in your court, and all of a sudden you're killing her like
You have
that.
her in the
Is
crosshairs, yeah.
Yeah, he just smirked. He just
Well,
smirked.
once you accidentally kill one, person who was a piece on the game board,
Yes.
you've crossed the line. Now you can do it again. Now,
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think he did go there, especially I'm gonna see if I can find the moment though. He's got like his sword. He is about to kill his brother. There he is. He's about to kill his brother right there. Okay, he's about to kill him. and Cole, creeps up on him, and he knows he can't do it because there are certain rules in place about killing people in power. And we'll learn about that further along down the line. But you can't just go out and kill somebody who's a king without having to face the music, so to speak. So, um, and I hope they touch on this more in in the story, because if not, well, I'll just mention it again because they do. You can't just go around killing kings or offsprings of kings. You there has to be you know, it has to be done in a certain way. Then
Well,
there
there's
has to
an
be.
ancient line of thinking that says when you kill a king, you do it in front of the whole court where everyone can see you. So, so there is you don't do it in a backhanded, behind the door, secretive way.
Yeah.
It's perceived as cowardly.
Yeah. And so like this is just a wonderful moment where we see Aemon is unhinged now. He's unhinged. But I will say this about his character in this film, in this particular season, and we can further go into it. I'm kind of off the linear track now. We one thing I will say about him is that I would have loved to see even more unhinged behavior from him.
So that's
More
what my season,
sociopathic moments with him.
which ties in. All I was going to say was that ties into my proposal for how season 2 could have ended.
Yeah.
I think, and I'll keep it brief, but I think they should have, instead of doing what they did. I don't think I would have spent. I would
I know where you're going with this. Yes.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have spent as much time with Tywin Lannister and that whole and introducing new characters and all that. And it wasn't that great of a scene. I thought he was a very bad diplomat. He looked visibly like, oh God, I got to do this negotiate, which is not diplomatic at all. Yeah. So I would have gotten rid of that and maybe saved that to help start season 3. I would have built up Aegon and shown him flying out to Sharp Point and torching that city and really made that the set piece moment.
I agree 100. Okay, listen to this. There's a wedding happening, okay? Lovely couple. They're so in love with each other, okay? A lot of the townspeople are getting together. They're all like festive and happy. And then here comes the dragon and burns everybody to a crisp. I mean, he doesn't care.
That was in the book?
No, I'm just my.
Oh, that's your ad? You added that?
Yeah, I'm just adding. Like, let us feel something. Let us spend like 5 minutes with this town. Let us see them doing their thing. Let us see them just being normal.
Oh man.
Happy. Let's see
why
some
that would have
kids.
worked?
Let's see some kids, like some a mother, suckling her newborn. Let's see some characters and then kill them and burn them. Like, I want to see them like,
You want like a Raiders of the Lost ending.
Yes. And it's like, I want to see finally Aemon have this like beautifully bright smile, and I want the dragon to be like, like really give us the evil.
I think that's great, because and it would have worked, because I think episode 6 or something was called Small Folk. So this season has already taken time to kind of go into the lower class districts, I guess, whatever you want to call them, and show the small folk. And I mean, you could have set it up where there's discussion of other bastards, right? That, have you heard they're gathering up bastards? There's a chance that you could get a dragon. You could easily go into that and have like the wedding sequence, like you're talking about, and then cut back to the palace where someone's like, Sharp Point isn't even strategic, and have him be like, I don't care if it's strategic. They're raising their banners to they need to learn a lesson. And trust me, if I do this, if we hit hard, the next town will think twice before they raise their banners to the other queen. So, and then show smart people being like, if you do this, they will hate you. And then have them go do it. And like you said, show the horror of this. And guess what? And guess what, Retro? If they did, we would have something to talk about for
like, oh my God, Aemon is out of his mind. He's sick. I wanted him to do something terrible to his sister. I'm sorry. I mean, that whole conversation, he's like, I could have you killed. And she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's like, great. Then then do something. Like, push her or something. Like, I wanted him to show me true. Like he was really, really out there. because
Totally.
he's the only character right now who can. Everybody else has been neutralized, or there've been, he's the one that's unpredictable, and we should see more. We should have seen more cruelty from him.
Well, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. All I was saying, he's been I did not care for his character too much in season 1, and his character is the one that's grown on me the most.
Yeah.
And it's because he's one of the most decisive characters. He does things, whether we like him or not, he's decisive. So that would have been cool. And Retro, I just submitted your name as a storyboarder for the next season. So HBO should get my message soon. I'm like, hey, you want to really wow the crowd?
Yes.
It's horrible, but meet my friend Retro.
Oh gosh. Well, that's what I wanted from him. I wanted him to get really insano. There were so many moments I felt like with him in particular. They built it up beautifully with him being mocked by his brother. He almost kills his brother. And you're like, oh, Eamon's crazy. He's about to kill his brother. And then, the scene with his mom. Okay, so now we can go. He is past the moment of saving. The moment when his mom is touching his face.
Oh, yeah.
That's the end. You've dismantled your mother's place at at your table. You've gone to the furthest end that you can possibly go. So I wanted them to take it a little bit further, and so maybe they might. I don't know. There's still a lot of room to play.
Well, and to make matters worse, by contrast, now imagine Retro's nightmarish red wedding destruction, total carnage scene.
Yes.
Now imagine that, right? Which would have been great. And when I was originally taking notes, I wrote Aemond, Burning City, ? I didn't even know what the hell I was watching. It was a 6-second scene.
It was, oh my God, you're so right. And I agree. And this is like, again, for all the things that we said that we loved about the show,
right?
This was the shortest moment. It's just a moment of seeing a burning place and then him looking at it from afar. And that was it.
Yeah, it totally. And it didn't even have context. So I didn't even know what I was looking at. I had to go back in my notes to fill that in. Oh, it's called Sharp Point. Aeon burned it for some reason. Like I had to go back, but it was not obvious for the 6 seconds they showed it. Yeah. And it had no context or meaning to me as a viewer. I will share, Lance from Outcast Creative said that they ran out of their budget. And so the final, and apparently he knows people who worked on the show and has some real information. He's not just speculating. He has it on good authority that it was budgetary. So they didn't have the money to make any more than that quick shot. But it still counts. We're watching your show. You have to deliver. So I felt that was one area they did not deliver.
Yes, and we're going to talk more about that because some more news have been revealed about that. But for sure, that is where I think this season is one of the biggest blows. Is the missed opportunity there to really wow us. And it could have been like, okay, well, we're gearing up for the battle, but did you see what happened to what Aemond did? He's crazy. This is gonna be sick. We needed one more display of dragon insanity, or somebody riding a dragon doing something. Like we needed a big moment with
anything.
Or a battle sequence, one at least part of or somebody fighting or something. We didn't get any of that, and so that was kind of didn't satisfy the palate, if you will. But let's see if I can go back and
I don't like
one
her
character.
Much.
Yeah, this is really kind of a sad thing here because she's at this point, if she vanished from the story, I think it'd be fine. And in the books, I don't remember her much past this point. To be very honest with you, and I don't really think she kind of fades away from the story. But at this point, all that she's doing is just saying, "Oh, you're so wonderful, Rhaenyra. You're just wonderful. You're the most powerful woman ever. You're amazing." I
Well,
mean,
and there was no, so they had that big makeout kiss a
hmm,
couple episodes
yeah.
ago.
Hmm.
There's no, when two people cross that line, there's some chemistry, the relationship changes. Uh, None of that in the season finale. There was no sense that these two had any romantic interest at all. It was, it was almost like they just did it for that one scene. I didn't get a sense that they actually were into each other in the finale, and
Yeah.
so I was like, I don't know what's going on with these two. This makes the least sense.
Yeah, it didn't need to be there, but I would say this: I'm glad they didn't go further with it too, because if you
That's true.
notice that the scene after that where Rhaenyra is in her bed, she's alone. Okay, not
Oh,
like unlike Allison, to where she was like,
yeah,
"What?"
Allison is not alone. She's very busy.
Like she was alone in that bed, and I was like, okay, so they didn't continue with this thing. Somebody was saying that maybe it could have been sort of like, and I know that the actresses has kind of came up with that on their own, feeling like that worked for the moment, and that could kind of do its thing. I'm just glad it was just there. And sometimes you could get in the passion of something, but hey, we're at war right now. People are
Yeah,
dying. I lost my child. My other kid over here, he's very vulnerable. He's illegitimate, and people can see it.
and she's like, "Hey, how about we make out?"
Like you don't have time for this. And so I'm glad they didn't go any further with it. Rhaenyra
Well,
at
and
this
you know what
point.
else is, when you're in a position of power like that, it came across as seductive to me. And it's like, you should be guarded against this person. If they're trying to seduce you, that could be a bad, like, especially if they're advising you and they're an informal advisor that came in from the outside. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to be on guard from this person. Not,
Well, did you see the look that the guard gave her
yeah,
when they left? He gave her that like, "What are you doing here? What is going on here? Look." And I was like,
yeah.
Keep your eye on her."
I don't trust this one.
Yeah. So
Oh boy.
I honestly hope that they like nicely excuse her from the story and put her, somewhere else, because from what my memory, I don't see her much further. I know that she did advise Rhaenyra, but I think that was their relationship parts. I think she leaves the story. So I hope that they do that with her. It's like, excuse me, let the real story go on. But I was at for a while there, I was enjoying her play. Like, hey, we
Yeah, yeah.
plan this, we do this, those little tactical things that she kept on coming
Strategist.
up. I love that. I was like, okay, cool. She's got like an inside deal. She's got people on the inside. She knows she's helping. But when
Yes.
that was no longer the case, it was very like, okay,
Flat.
what are you here for? And it again, oh, you're so fantastic. I was like, okay, calm down, calm down.
Well, and that's why you don't just ad hoc everything. Like, it's a modern thing to do, to just keep changing, intellectual property.
Yeah,
As a writer, if you're tapped in, you've thought this through, and that's why you don't do it, because it fits. The second you change something, it may not fit. So, and suddenly they kissed, and now she's like shuffled into this weird zone. So,
yeah.
pay attention as writers. What you're doing.
Oh, I love this. Thank you, Dr. Plato. Women advisors were quite common in the past, though they tended to be relatives. I love that. Thank you. That's great.
Women
Um,
are natural strategists. They pay attention to things and they point things out all the time. Did you see this thing over? I was like, no, I didn't
we,
notice anything.
we love
Women are,
details.
they have their fingers on the pulse. So,
Yeah, we love details, and
yeah,
yeah, and when that, I think that's when her character really thrived and really made sense, was when she was doing her little sneaky white snaky stuff, and but when she stopped doing that, it was like, okay, we need you to get out of here.
yeah.
And I did love the little story background about her family. and I think what they should have done in that moment was reaffirm their friendship. And that's it. They
Oh, that would
didn't
have
have
been
to
good.
go. Yeah, they didn't have to go down the passionate route. But if they felt like they needed to do that, fine. As I'm glad that they didn't continue. Is
Right.
also, and also it gets complicated when you have her like cheating on her husband with this lady.
That's what I'm
Damon
saying.
is
You
it.
changed too much.
Yeah, Damon. Technically, Damon didn't cheat on her, except for if you want to consider the dream that he had. That was really weird.
Dreams don't count.
Dreams don't count. Okay. And I thought he was going to form a physical relationship with Alice. I keep forgetting her name.
Oh, the barn owl.
Yes, Alice. And so I thought for sure that that's like, oh, they're gonna have her be sort of the part of Nettles, one piece of Nettles, because I think they were. My thought pattern was that they were splitting Nettles into two people, and one being his actual daughter, Raina, and that they were going to use Alice as sort of the romantic end of it. And it looks like they're not doing that at all. That Alice is actually just a guide, just a spiritual uh, uh, guide during this time
Manifestation of some
period.
kind.
Yeah, yeah. And so, well, she's real, but she's helping him to see the light, if you will, who he's
Yeah, and
really
she,
supposed to be.
I wasn't big on her character when they first introduced her. I was
She
like,
was
"Oh,
about
great,
to
another
say that.
witch." I got enough of that in The Acolyte. But
Yeah.
they brought her in, and I think the strength of her acting
Mhm.
and a decent script, I think she's a very interesting character now. So she really grew on me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was fantastic. Like you said, grew on me as well.
Yes.
Not someone that initially I didn't understand what was going on. What was she there for? What's happening here? Will somebody please tell me what the heck's happening? And I think is really, really interesting. Like she's just like sort of blossoming. Okay, I'm gonna help you with what you need to
Yes.
do. um you know
Because she doesn't seem to be playing any special angle.
mhm,
She doesn't seem to be like vested in the conflict, and
yeah,
and yet she's very confrontational, and she's confrontational to Damon. She
yeah,
stands up to Damon and she challenges Damon, and he's aware of it. And he doesn't overreact to her. He really accepts her challenge and treats her as though she's challenging him effectively. He treats her legitimately, and I loved her dialogue when she goes, "I'm a barn owl, cursed to be a human." I was like, "Oh,
yes,
that is freaky weird and cool."
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. Darth Vader says that Damon and Mysterio were a thing in season one. Yes, they were together for a while
Oh
there,
yeah.
and yeah. So it's kind of complicated with all of these relationships going around. I kind of like that. Feels very soap opera-ish. Um, and
That's good.
Joshua Scars here says, what's your interpretation of who Alice is? Is she a conduit, a three-eyed raven? The tease of Helena communicating through her is intriguing. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I've heard this theory.
Yes, I like all those theories. We didn't, we haven't gotten that kind of confirmation yet. In the book, it's much less interesting, or it is interesting, but it isn't as they don't really explain who she is. They just said that she's a wood witch, and have there been tales of the reasons why she is able to look as the age that she is, because she is a lot older than that. And she was the nursemaid to the Strongs, all the strong boys, not the strong boys from Renera, but the strong their fathers. And so that's kind of interesting. um
Well, and I got to say, so there was the vision sequence, and it showed the
Ooh,
three-eyed raven. It showed events from Game of Thrones. I actually didn't like that. Because one
Yeah.
thing that I really appreciated about House of the Dragon when it first came out was that they were not resting on any laurels. They were not trying to say, hey, remember Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
How about this? They were basically like, forget Game of Thrones. We're starting new with whole new deck, whole new characters.
We love
and they
that.
they stood on their own, which nobody tries to do this anymore. And
Yeah.
they did, and they pulled it off. They pulled it off like that. And so now that they're trying any tie-in, I didn't mind like one mention, like, hey, there's future events. I didn't mind like a mention, but I don't want to feel like they're trying to tie Game of Thrones into this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the power of the show is that it is standalone.
Yeah.
We get that it's in the past. We get that it'll eventually lead to other, Targaryens and Baratheons and Lannisters. We get all that. Yeah. But I don't want to see the White Walkers. I don't, when you say winter is coming, I'm like, for one episode in season 8, and it was and it sucked. So, like, don't remind me.
Yeah. And I think that this wasn't exactly something I was excited about was seeing. I was like, why are we getting this? And I think this has to do with HBO and or not HBO, but Max in general, like what they're planning for the future, because there's supposed to be 7 other runoffs shows. Game of Thrones,
7?
like other.
Ugh. I got Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, just concentrate on one thing at a time, guys. Like this is the one to concentrate on. That's why you don't have a whole bunch of money, because you're so busy doing all of these shows nobody asked for. I didn't ask for,
and
like who asked for Dune Sisterhood? Who asked for a Penguin show? Like,
nobody.
This is the show that people are asking for and love. Put all of the money into this, please.
Yeah, go for it. Exactly.
Give us some dragons or something. Like, do something. Like, stop playing with us.
Yes.
I don't want to see, like, Game of Thrones. I know a lot about Game of Thrones from just research and stuff, and I know the storylines. I know about the White Walkers. I know about all that stuff. I know about Daenerys. It was, everyone has said this. This is definitely the vision was definitely a commercial, soft commercial for Game of Thrones. Great. But also, how does it affect the story? Now, all I wanted was a line or two that said, what I think what they're trying to say is now Daemon knows who he is in the whole like situation, like that he has to be with Rhaenyra as the by her side in order to get her on the throne, and that is where the audience loses the connection to what's happening, is when you're like flashing all of these images and so I know that Screen Rant and heavy spoilers are going to go into detail and take it apart for us and explain how all of this what all of this means, but I wanted the show to actually tell me what it meant. I wanted the show to actually say, I was shown this vision because X, Y, and Z. I wanted him to say something in particular. And he does kind of say, like, the winter is coming, but what does that mean to him? What does that mean to him? What does winter is coming mean to him?
I thought, that felt like more of a Stark saying. I know that it spread and became kind of there's kind of a universal nature to it. But that only really happened in Game of Thrones as the White Walkers became real to other cultures. Yeah. But it was always a Stark saying, and I forgot who says it in this episode, but they weren't a Stark, or Daemon says it, right? Winter
Daemon
is coming.
Says it in Valyrian, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, why would he say winter is coming? And dude, it ain't coming for like 100 years. Calm down, dude.
Like, what does that mean to him? It didn't work. It was sort of like a wink, like, hey, I know you watched Game of Thrones, wink wink.
We don't need it.
Like,
we don't need it.
And Joshua, thank you for this information. So spin-offs will be Death of Prestige TV. The Voice has 2 more planned spin-offs.
Come on.
Game of Thrones, Hati has 3 spin-offs in development. Which is like,
Jesus.
forget about the development. Like, get that money and put it towards this show. And says
Didn't they
1 coming
see
next year, and too many shows set in one universe. Yeah,
didn't they see what happened to Marvel and Star Wars when everything became a spinoff? It killed it.
this is desperation, though. This is desperation, and maybe I should get into that right now.
Well, and that's why I'm not turning against House of the Dragon, because there's so many shows that are weak and incompetent and ridiculous and unnecessary. That's not this show. So that's why I'm loyal to it, despite my serious frustration with that season finale and all my criticism. It's still a competent show that is done at a high level with people who do know how to tell stories. I think they ran out of a budget, and I also heard that things changed. Well, go ahead. I think you have some explanation on this. I don't want to.
Well, we just recently found out a few days ago that Warner Brothers is having some financial trouble, a lot of them, and they've done a series of firings within the last few months, basically, and they're still reorganizing, still firing. They may be, and we have to keep close eye on this, is Warner Brothers actually happens to own a lot of properties that we really care about, that has to do with a lot of the things we grew up with. So definitely you want to keep an eye on the story. But according to this show, this season was supposed to have 10 episodes,
Right.
not 8. Okay.
Right.
So in March of 2023, that was a long time ago, a year and a half ago, Deadline reported that season 2 would consist of 8 episodes, and that the belief is that the original plan had been for 10. Itself came just to 2 months after the scripts for season 2 were finished. So it wasn't about the scripts that had been written for season 2 to have 10 episodes. Which is really sad. According to writer and executive producer Sarah Haas, as Deadline's report noted, it came amid other cost-cutting measures at Warner Brothers Discovery, which has continued into 2024, as per Bloomberg. So they're in financial problems, and they're in over $30 billion in debt. At this particular time, they were at 50, but and they're actually going down, but it's not enough to actually do anything. And their profit for this particular quarter was for the summer is 7% lower than last year. And remember all of the flops that happened, the DC flops that happened last year. And they can't do better. They can't do better this year. So there's
I've never heard of a studio filming Batgirl, filming an entire show and then just being like, we got to delete this. Never don't let anybody see this. And let's just eat the loss. I've never heard of that until Warner Brothers did it. And I was like, how bad, in this day and age when there's so much bad content, how bad was this? Because
I honestly don't think it was about it being bad or good. I think it was about them just changing gears as far as
I think you're right.
And also, like, hey, if we're changing gears, why don't we just cap this? I mean, we're talking about really great actors in this, where it just blows my mind. So to continue the story, however, they also cited an HBO spokesperson who said it was for story reasons, which I don't believe so. The scripts for the 8 season 2 episodes were all finished months ago, long before the strike began. Remember, we had strikes last year, and every episode has gone through for 4 to 5 drafts and numerous rounds of revisions to address HBO notes. and budget concerns. So yeah, they at one point had it. They had 10 episodes, and then they took it away and made it. Oh no! Oh, come back to me! Did I lose you? Oh no! Oh, okay. So I think we lost. He should be back any minute now. I think if I'm not certain. But oh no, his power went out. Oh gosh, so sorry. Yes, his power went out. So we're gonna continue. Hopefully it'll come back soon. We'll wait for him. Uh, so in the meantime, I'll do the layout like this. And yeah, this is really surprising and shocking that this happened at the time when we really wanted really good stuff. We wanted some good stuff. And let's see what you guys are saying. And I'm gonna go up a little bit just to read some of your things. And oh, I haven't talked to Moonbeam today. Hello, Moonbeam. How are you, Moonbeam? And Darth Plato says the prophecy angle with the Targaryens is a bad one. That should be a Stark thing. Ooh, okay, yeah, I didn't even think about that. And the showrunners are doing it to sanitize the motivations of some of the main characters. And Sergeant Giratana says, speaking of Screen Rant, that outlet and Kotaku have some folks calling it out Warner Brothers Discovery for their abuse of DC and other brands mismanaged for years, and I wonder if they need to be saved, not shut down. Yeah, they need someone to come in and just help with this situation. This is really crazy. They're coming out with a Superman movie next year, but I don't know how. You know, they need money and they need it now. And Maria Kelly says, but Damon wants to be in charge. I think I should be king because no one will take Rhaenyra seriously is a bit of a cop-out. Yeah, he was doing that too much for a while there. And Darth Plato finishes what he was saying before, which is that certain showrunners are sanitizing the characters to make them seem less pursuing of their interests. And I think they're trying to buy some time, which is kind of annoying because I want my characters to really feel like smart characters. And so I loved when they were doing all of that incredible stuff. Hold on one second. Having a small issue. All right, let's see. Oh, it puts you like this teeny tiny screen. Okay, let's see. Let's
Sorry,
see if I
a
can.
freak storm came through and it just knocked my power out for a second.
Oh my
It's still
goodness.
going on. It's bizarre. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no. I had a moment here with my camera, but yeah, the Darth Plato was saying that this season the characters seem to be more sanitized to make them seem less like they're pursuing their interests. And Maria says, but Damon wants to be in charge. I think I should be king because no one will take Rhaenyra seriously is a bit of a cop out. And let's see. And Darth Plato says, I hear season 3 will also be 8 episodes. And I think when you're planning out, and I think this is the problem. See, they plan for 10 episodes. And so that's where, if you plan for 10 episodes and you only get to do 8, then something's got to give, right? Whereas if you plan for 8 episodes, you know what's going to be in those 8 episodes.
Right.
So
Well,
I
and it
think,
gives you a chance if you are going to feature a lot more action, right? That you want 8 episodes because 10 you don't want what you don't want them to do is add 2 filler episodes. We sense that a mile away. So give us 8, make them count, and deliver that season 3.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And Darth Plato's episode 9 was supposed to be the naval battle and the death of the main character, and episode 10 was Rhaenyra's main war effort. Yes, I can totally see that as I look at the story. I have where's my notes at? I have this cheat sheet for myself I made of sort of like notes, and this entire season was just this amount, and there's still like several pages. So
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, we're taking our time with this, aren't we? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just did simple moves. I mean, the show still has some of the best dialogue out there. The costume design, the set design, the animation, the dragons, it's all level 10. So, I just wish it sounds like. So here's what Lance said, and I don't know, you may have covered some of this, but Lance from Outcast Creative said that when they did season 1, they weren't exactly positive how many seasons it would go. So then they had planned for season 2 to end it. And then as that situation changed and season 3 became possible, suddenly season 2 kind of got small as they punted the big stuff to the next season. So it was really, it sounds like season 2 is really a victim of the show's success. More so than anything.
Well, okay, we like that, but we definitely like and we like to be satisfied by the end of the season.
Yeah,
and,
I think they're going to deliver.
I think they're going to deliver. I do. And Keith E says there was a big flash of fire when Douglas disappeared. I think he got attacked by a dragon.
I did get attacked by a dragon, but I am Douglas, the unburnt.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And so I wanted to touch on the story of Nettles now becoming a different type of story with Rhaena. And just in general, what are your thoughts on the character of Rhaena?
She's not really given a lot of airtime, especially in this last episode. She seems like she could be an interesting character, but without developing her much, I don't have much to say about her. I know that for the finale, they showed her like running through the wilderness in like nice clothes for it, like, and then at length, like she's just still running, and then she comes up over this horizon, looks, and then she comes upon this dragon, and obviously, I think they're setting us up that she has this dragon, which is in the wild. Is going to choose her, and she is going to enter the fray as a dragon rider. Great. Is this the way to set her up and do this? Probably not. I think this could have been done a lot better. I mean, a dragon choosing someone in this world is a pretty big moment, and there's no way to portray it without it being ultra dramatic. Remember, like in that movie Aliens 3? When that came right up to her and it opened its mouth and then it backed up. Like, put her in proximity with, this is the least dramatic way. Just like, the dragon. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
I think they could have done something a little bit more with her if she's going to play a pivotal role and if we're about to get her as a dragon rider. What did you think?
Well, as many times as they showed her storyline and kind of left her in sort of this like limbo place emotionally, I thought it would have been nice if they had done exactly what the book had done with Nettles, which was have her this, we all know that there's a dragon out there, and she's just okay. She gets this really cool idea. Would have made her seem smart to get a sheep and feed it to the dragon to gain its trust. That's what Nettle does in the book. And so there's a series of building to this moment, right? We like you see her, working her way to get to this moment. And I don't know why they removed that from the story, because that was excellently uh excused in the book. It was like, oh yeah, I could see how a dragon in the wild could suddenly find a young girl out of from nowhere and just like want to attach to her. So um her just coming up on the dragon, she knows the dragon's out there, she's coming up on the dragon, and it's now, this is going to be her dragon. It just doesn't feel as much of an accomplishment for her.
Right.
And it took away the cleverness of the girl, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, and this is how you have us root for a character.
Totally. And one thing that I was very proud of for House of the Dragon, and because it came out at the same time, the season one as it was, as Rings of Power, right? They
Yeah.
both came out of the gates. They were both, it was almost like a science experiment because they have the same genre, same everything.
Yeah.
Diversity was a big topic.
Yes.
And Rings of Power botched it at every level, on every step. And then here's House of the Dragon handling their business. It had a diverse cast. They all contributed. Here's an opportunity to take a character in the book who we've developed. We have an actress for her. We have a cool storyline.
Yeah.
I feel like in a show that went soft in its finale.
Yeah.
Here's a character we could have spent some time with. And you just told me the backstory. That's far more, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's so interesting. It shows the girl is smart. And one of the things I had a problem. Well, one of the things that they took away from the idea of Nettles was that she would have been problematic for the show, and I understand why. We're talking about somebody who was also very young, and possibly a love interest for Damon. Now, in the stories in the books, he treats her like a daughter, and also there may be some lover stuff going on. But this being his actual daughter, it makes sense then that they would have a closeness, and remove all that other like weird stuff. So I like that moderation. In the books, Raina really doesn't serve much of a purpose. She kind of just fizzles out into the story. She doesn't really. She's a character that really doesn't do much. So they really pumped her up a little bit more. I just wish they had done that with her involvement with the dragon to make us, to make us feel like the dragon is starting to trust her. She's using her wits. She's actually somebody will want to like go ahead, try that last thing, do something.
Well,
we want her to win.
Well, and it's archetypal. The beast is ally theme is one that will resonate when you show a woman or a female character walking up cool-headed to a monster like this, like a giant dragon, and earning that trust and building some relationship. That is classic heroine behavior. The audience will respond to it. We won't forget it. And it will, and especially with the animation up to the task for the dragon itself, the beast, they could have really given us something there that we would have liked.
Yes. I just wanted to say a quick goodbye to Sergeant Giratana's Rising Renegades. So glad that you were able to hang out with us and have a great night.
Hey, so what about me, Sergeant?
Of course he meant you too.
I'm just kidding.
I think that was when you were still oh my god. And Maria says, who found the dragon? Raina, the daughter of Damon, who was sent, and that storyline really fell apart a little bit at the end, because I know she watches her brothers she watches Rhaenyra's children get sent off to she watches her brothers because some of them are her brothers. There's one kid that's not her brother, but there's mostly all her brothers and sister, no, just her brothers. And then she watches them go off to be taken to sea because they have to go by sea now. Um, and I never really understood why they left that lady's castle. So there was a couple of, it was just a little shoving around, a lack of explanation that was going on. Just
Interesting.
things were happening, but you just didn't know, like, oh, why is that happening? So I felt like
Right.
in the story, there could have been a little bit more of like, hey, this is what's happening now, kind of thing. Without being too, just, too much of a what would you call it? Uh, eh, just to make it like natural too, like make it natural. And look, we have see, Maria Kelly is still say she's like, somebody please tell me who found a dragon in the wild. She's
Will somebody please
it's
answer her
true.
question?
It's so true. Like you're really not sure who she is because what's going on. But there were a few moments, I think, especially in the last episode, where you're kind of like, huh? And it could have been just told with a little bit more. But it was definitely feels like things were being rushed and like,
For
let's hurry up
sure.
and tell the story. And it was Raina, Damon's daughter, that found a dragon in the wild. Um, and yeah,
Was there anyone else who found a dragon in the wild, or was that it?
that was it. Yeah, that was
Okay.
it. And Joshua says, I think the word you're looking for is exposition. Yes,
Yeah, well, some
exposition.
setup for the
Yeah,
payoff.
yeah, yeah. Like somebody say, "Oh, is that blah 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 in the distance, whatever," and then
Right.
you're getting the idea. Oh, okay, that's happening right now, and
Right.
I think we needed a little bit of that. But this is something I really enjoyed, the meeting of Rhaenyra going to Harren Hall and talking to Damon face to face, which technically on a reasonability scale should have been done in like episode 3 or something. I don't know.
Totally.
But and this is not in the book. This is not in the book. This is off the book. This is their
Okay.
so this was actually really good. I was like, oh, great that they added this and it kind of makes up for all the extras that they added too. That made this a little bit better.
This
It
was
does.
my favorite scene in the finale.
Me too. Me too. I
Oh,
was
yeah, okay, right on.
yes.
Yeah, so
I was like, yes, Damon's
yes.
back.
Well, and so he's been kind of underused, I would
Yeah,
say, the second half
neutralized.
of season 2. And most people agreed with the complaint that he's just kind of milling about Harrenhal, too many dream sequences. It
Yes,
got a little too ambiguous and too abstract. And he was at his best when he was acting on his cunning, when he was
yes,
doing something and was a player on the board. And then suddenly here in season 2, he gets bogged down in this like dream world. At first it was cool, but let's move on. You can
yes.
only do so much dream sequencing.
I know.
As a writer, that's kind of a thing. You
Yeah,
can't keep going back to that well, and they did, and
yeah,
they did it with one of the most iconic characters in the show. When he's on screen, he seems to chew up the scenery, and so finally he has that vision, and the whole season has been trending toward him really opening up a third tier in this civil war. That
yes,
he's going to not take a side; he's going to take his own side, and then suddenly this guy who's menacing, who's cunning and conniving, bends the knee to
yeah,
Rhaenyra, and he does so convincingly. And it was the one time while I was watching the show that I was like, oh, whoa, I didn't
yeah,
expect that.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I was so happy. It was really great.
Yeah.
And it's almost like seeing two heroes coming back together because we liked those two together. We liked
Yes.
um uh, this is something that I took from still from the scene, and I just love this connection. They touch foreheads for a few moments. There is a connection between him and Rhaenyra that cannot be broken. They just are attached to each other in this story somehow, and he really really likes that girl. He really
Right.
does. He really
Yeah, I
adores her.
agree. And I felt like it was one of those team up moments,
Yes.
and one
Yes.
that I wanted. Or let me put it this way: I didn't know I wanted it back. I
Yes.
thought it was. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought that he had gone off on this other path, and that he was going to create his third faction. And once he bent a knee, and he was like, "I am totally loyal to you, and all of my men are
Ah,
loyal to you." I was like,
I was like,
"Oh, I didn't
yes.
realize I wanted this. This is
Yeah, yeah.
great."
Oh, yeah, yeah. Me too. I was like, yes, I want this. Yes. And
Yeah.
they were, it kind of goes back to when they were married in season 1, where they touched foreheads. And I love that.
Oh,
That really touched me in such a wonderful way. I'm like, wow, this is just, this is filling me up in a way that I never thought I wanted these two to really, stick it out together. And you
yeah.
think about it, she is so powerful with him at her side. And she
Totally.
knows
They
it. And
make a
she knows.
great team. They're
Yeah.
tough together.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think of him by himself, not as powerful. And you think of
Not
her
at
by
all.
herself, not as together. Apes together strong. This is like the Targaryens together strong. They are a power couple. And so
Yes.
love these guys together. I was so glad that they were together. And supposedly, and I hope there is a scene that they pay this off in season 3 with the two of them together, and that should be extremely powerful. I hope they will bring my vision to life that I've seen,
You see it
and
in your head?
I see it in my head and I'm like, I need that moment. And so, yes, that's why I'm also excited for season 3. These two are together, and they're, let's kick all of the other people out of the way. These two are the main. And
And Joshua, I would say Sir Alfred Broom.
oh yeah, yeah, he's both of them actually, but Sir Alfred Boom is the main one. I think is then.
Yeah,
But
he's the one that was like willing. Damon even says, I never pegged you for a turncloak. So now that he knows he's like that, he knows that his loyalty now, it doesn't mean anything. So
yes,
I mean, that's got to be reconciled. That's got to be
yes,
resolved.
yes. So and Keith, he says, so this season 3 is in 2 years. I might not still be alive. You will be. You will be.
Man, it's crazy. I don't know where they came up with this 2-year wait thing, but it's becoming more common, and it's
Yeah.
driving me nuts.
Well, I wanted to talk about the seeds, and that is a storyline that uh, I'm half loving. Well, I'm loving, but I feel like, ooh, there could have been more meat on these bones.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
Now, as far as Hugh Hammer, uh, his storyline is excellent.
I like him.
Oh, it's excellent. If there's somebody I'm rooting for, and I won't say the full. I know where it ends up, but
Mm.
he right now is just one of those guys, hero right there. Slap it right on his chest. He
Yeah,
is
well,
the hero.
he's like working class. He's doing this for his family. Like he's an easy guy to like. He also seems to know how to handle himself
And
in the
yeah,
social mobility situation he's in, where he's a working class guy. Now you're in the palace, and he knows to behave there. Ulf does not get the
yeah,
message here. I'm also kind of pulling for Adam of Hull. I like him as well. Those two are two excellent
yeah,
dragon seeds.
yes,
Ulf is probably my least. I don't like him. I'm not even gonna say I like him the least. I don't like him at all. The way he was handled in this finale.
Yes, there was a scene of him at the bar where people are like, "Oh, you should go. You should, you should do this," and he's like, "Oh no, I'm just me. Don't no," and he's got such a sweet disposition. I was like, "Oh, he's so cute," and he's got like a jovial feel to him, but they're trying, and I think with a hammer instead of a writer's pen to tell the story of his dislike for the royal family or animosity for the royals because they have treated him awfully. And they've treated him, Hugh also awfully as well. But with him, he cannot hide his disdain at this point. And it's like, can we work our way to this? At least show some fear for your future queen. At least show some decorum for the prince. At a dinner table as nicely set as this, can you at least conduct yourself with some grace? So
100%. This was an example, in my opinion, of bad writing, a rare example of bad writing.
Yeah.
So when you're writing a scene, you are like, okay, the conflict in this scene is going to be Ulf and his attitude toward the royals, let's say.
Yeah, that's
or
obvious.
Ulf, being not conducive to the group here that he's getting. That's level one thinking. This is going to generally be the conflict. And that seems like where that as far as they got, they didn't put any other imagination into it. His rebelliousness did not come across the way I think they wanted, because it's usually fun to watch a character buck the stuffiness of the royals, right? I'm a working class guy, and you people are all up your own, whatever. I'm not gonna go with this social etiquette.
Yeah.
They blew it though, because he really came across as a buffoon, speaking so out of place and so disrespectfully that only a fool, not a rebel, not someone who's non-conforming, not that kind of, outcast. He's just an idiot the way he's handling himself.
Yeah. And I thought it would have been nice for them to have him behave respectfully with maybe a few spidey, silvery tongued moments.
That would have been better.
A few. But then aside with Hammer, for them to share stories, and then these we're gonna win this war for them, but those son of a guns, they never really cared about us. Like, just talking amongst themselves to show us, the audience, not the entire story, like just to show the audience that, oh, there's something going on here, some animosity, some anger, some upset, some he may not be loyal 100%. Right now it's just obvious that he's going to turn. Like, they have not treated this with care. And that's where I'm like, wait a minute, with all of this sophisticated writing that you guys are doing with all of these other characters, like, why are you flubbing it now?
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's a time issue. They're like, we need things to go down, and we need a reason for them to go down, and why not this dinner table scene as set
but
the way it is? But still, it's still hitting it with like a boulder instead of like something a little bit more graceful. This was not graceful at all.
Believe it or not, from a writing standpoint, it's so much better to go the other direction.
Yes.
Have him be the most courteous.
Ooh, yes, I love that.
Totally. I mean, because we know as an audience, we're like, ooh,
wait a minute,
he is selling this. He is selling it. And he's doing such a good job now. I worry he's going to get an upper hand on these guys. So like when you go the obvious way, you ruin things. And that's what they did here. And like I said, they ruined it in the worst possible way. Also, world building. She's bringing in people from the lower classes into the castle here.
Yes.
There was no decorum, No ceremony for all of this.
Yeah.
There's nice food on the table, but there should be some sort of pomp and circumstance to this. Some sort of way of boxing in the etiquette. Yeah. There should be people serving the food, because this is also her sales pitch. Like, hey, all of this could be yours. You're going to be one of us now.
Okay. So yes.
All of that is communication. I am the rich person. This is how we live. This is some good stuff. And guess what? Your families are going to get some of this.
Yeah.
Are you interested? I mean, it's her sales pitch to them, and then it's them responding to her. And if this guy played and by the way, in earlier episodes, they actually portrayed Ulf as rather cunning. So
yeah. I loved him until this moment. Until this moment, I was like, oh man, what are they doing?
So this is a writing flaw. This is where they messed up in the writer's room. Mm-hmm. Somebody, it could have been a rush thing. It could have been part of this season finale problem that they had. Yeah. But they clearly rushed the script. They didn't think through at all the scene. So as a writer too, I care about functionality. And I can't really tell the way the scene is set up. It's like she invited a bunch of bar hands into the path. Like, hey, come on in, guys, eat up. That is not how you act in the upper classes. So this didn't have the care and thought in the world building, in the room. You notice you can't even see the background. So like we don't really get a good sense of where they are. Where are there security around here?
Maybe more lights, some music, some jovialness.
Yes. Like, where are her advisors? Yeah. Do these, like a scene which showed a servant pouring them wine instead of, because reaching for food and pulling it off and eating it, that's what we do in the lower classes anyway, right?
Yeah,
have them serve you, have them pour your glass. If you finish a glass, they take it away and they bring you a new one. You're like, oh, a second glass? Like we do. Show us something about the difference in how they live. I had mentioned in an earlier discussion, one of the major rubs between, if you really want to show conflict between the upper and lower classes, there are real practical degrees of separation.
Yes.
Let's say she says something like, hey, if you're out there and we get trouble, we'll send a raven to you. We'll have to send it. And he's like, well, I can't read. Well, that's going to be a problem. They're illiterate. So show us the practical divide between how the wealthy and the poor are going to work together. There are real barriers there. And they chose to ignore all of that and go with, hey, you bunch of idiot loser rulers. How you doing today? And that's not very good.
Yeah. And
sorry, that was my rant.
Well, look, everything you're saying, I'm in full agreement with, and then some. I'm just going to go into a tangent for a second about the process of getting the seeds, because I think there was a lot of meat on the bones. But by the way, everything you just said, that is so much meat on the bones that's like it's still there, and it's like no, that what an opportunity, because just your idea of having Ulf be like overcompensating, kissery, or over.
That is a new word in my vocabulary. I'm taking that. Over kissery. I'm using that.
Yes, like just like really pouring it on thick would just be so. You're like, oh, that guy. You're like, oh, that one. You gotta look at that one right there. He's planning something, and then
it's automatically unsettling. Yeah.
And then behind their backs, like those guys, they've treated us so badly, like talk smack about Queen and everything behind the closed doors, not in front of them. But one thing I was going to say about this finding the seedlings, now when they went out to actually, they sent a note out to get all of the people who wanted to be seeds. I thought it would have been really interesting if some of the guards found out about this and started stopping some of the seedlings from getting out. Like some of them died on the way. Like that it actually be an obstacle course for them to finally get to the castle. To actually get to Rhaenyra and actually then have to face these monsters, and some of them not survive that. And it's sort of like an obstacle course the whole way. I thought they were going to make, because it was such a big deal in the books. It was like sort of like tragic like a small tragic moment in the story, and I thought it could have been expanded and really acted out really immensely. Like we should have had some, and maybe that has to do with the budget. Okay, maybe they don't have budgets to like
But you know
set
what?
people on fire, but it makes it like, hey, these guys really want to be dragon riders.
But you're right. They didn't really establish how they didn't get there. And so, I don't think it would have been a lot in the budget because you're setting up almost like an obstacle course, like you said. You
Yeah,
can actually have really cheap, low budget scenes with some sort of contest in it of any kind.
yeah,
Two, they're not really reconciling whether these guys can even do the job. They put all the emphasis on, will the dragon pick you? You might have blood, winner. Where the guy's like, hey, I'm afraid of heights. Well, how good is this guy going to be, whether the dragon picked him or not?
yeah,
Can they do the job? Competency. This is a war fighting position. You're going to have to they're like, the way the show set it up, they're like, in 2 days, you'll be a dragon rider. I'm like, well, then
yeah.
it must not be that hard because I don't know anything that I can master in 2 days. And this is dragon warfare. This
Yeah.
should take them their lifetimes, So I don't know. I feel like I agree with you. They didn't use the material that they had. And I personally love the plot line of the bastards, the March of the Bastards. They come in, they're going to save the kingdom because they were all illegitimate, but they've got that magic blood. Good.
And there was so many of them. And there was so many of them. And that means that how many of these kids that people have been treated horribly.
Totally.
All this time. And
but it also plays so powerfully on theme because we've already dealt with the idea of legitimacy. You have the legitimate queen with the illegitimate kids and the illegitimate queen with the legitimate kids. And guess what? One of the illegitimate kids is the one who has a problem with their legitimacy. Right?
Yeah.
So Jace is like, they're not legitimate, blah, 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 blah. What does it mean to be a Targaryen? Well, you ain't one either, buddy. So what does it mean to be legitimate? You're just as much of a bastard as these unsavory, these uncouth guys at the table. So you've got a theme there as a writer that's like served on a silver platter. And I just don't think they knew it or knew what to do with it.
Yeah. And oh God, this is why season 3 is going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And I can't wait. I can't even tell you my psychological thoughts on this yet because I don't.
I know because it's a spoiler, right? You don't want to spoil it.
It's a spoiler, and I don't want anybody to. But anyway, Darth Vader says that Jace's concern is that his legitimacy to concession and not being a bastard, and as the heir is based on his status as a dragon rider. The elevation of these Targaryen bastards and riders undermines Jace. Yes, absolutely.
100%.
And I love that because now that is establishing clearly a rift between not only the dragon riders but also Jace and the dragon riders. Like, even though in the story that's written, they don't say any of that. There's none of this. None of this is happening in the story. But for the purpose of this show, and I love this, is that they're setting up a definite distinction and rivalry, even like hatred between the two of them. And that is actually pretty good as far as like the events that are going to happen in season 3.
So that you're saying that actually does set some good stuff up.
It sets up something really interesting because the way characters the way things go down, I think it was written for for drama, but the way it was written in this story was that now that dramatic moment, those dramatic moments will make sense more. So that that's adding more. So there's just some things that they're adding more to. That's like, yes, you're just actually going to make that feel better when certain things happen. I want to tell you what it is, but I can't because if you haven't read the story, it's going to ruin the surprise for you. And when it happens, you'll be like, oh, you know.
So I have a question for you then.
Yes.
Forgetting all the criticism, accepting the rather disappointing season finale, all the bad stuff setting all of that aside.
Yes.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how well set up is season 3?
It's set up really well, because as soon as season the first episode, we should get 2 simultaneous battles, if not 3 at the same time. But
3 battles.
But I believe there's 2 in particular that are set up, and some really bad stuff goes down. And
okay.
Yeah, some
so we're really right on the doorstep to total warfare.
We're on the doorsteps of war, battle, blood, dragons dying, people dying, like main characters dying.
Wow.
And I'm hoping that they end the season tragically. With because I don't want them to hold off on it for like the next. I want them to continue this, like this era is going to be like awesome if they can just make some headway on the story. Now the whole thing with I don't even have a picture reference for it, the Admiral Lohar, which I loved Admiral Lohar, and I forgot his name already. But the
Tywin Lannister.
Yeah. Not so happy about those scenes in the placement of where they are. I think if
Agreed.
It was in episode 1 or 2 and we knew this was something that they were working on, fine. But for the last episode, I don't want any of this garbage. Okay, I mean, this is just too much. It's like, okay, yeah, this is funny and cute, but we're talking about all out war and dragons, and I don't want to see this. And right now, I want to know what Helena's doing. I want to know what Aemon's doing. I want to know what Rhaenyra is doing. I want to know where the main character's doing, because now we're serious now.
Totally.
And so the time for fun and games was like maybe 4 episodes back.
Yeah, you shouldn't be introducing new characters in a season finale anyway. I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
And I did like her. I did like her character.
Oh, she was great.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually thought Tywin Lannister was not well done. Mm-hmm. He did not seem like a diplomat, like a trained diplomat. He looked like a guy who was hot and didn't want to be there and was willing to give them whatever they asked for. He just wasn't. And then she goes, she's like, I won't sail with any man who cannot best me. I was like, ooh, that's a good line. Yeah. And then I was like, Tylen, buddy, you ain't up for this. She's going to eat you alive, bro.
Yeah.
He just did not look like the kind of guy that was going to win her respect. And I thought that he kind of got lucky. She's like pummeling him, and he like backhands her like a lucky strike. And she's like, you know what? You're in. And I was like, really? I was like, that earned your respect? That I thought you kind of wanted a more like alpha move, man. That didn't seem like enough.
I did want something a little bit more juicier if you're gonna set that up. But and I thought it would have been like, if we're talking about like she's the best fencer ever, right? Or if she's like the best wrestler ever, and that maybe but this kind of slugfest out in the mud is just like, I don't know, it just didn't seem too exciting. I don't mind the scene itself. I guess maybe my biggest problem is the placement of it, not really something I wanted to see right then. But this whole little culture and the world of the world of the triarchy, very fascinating.
Yes, I actually thought that the set and the costumes were tip top.
Yeah, episode 2. Episode 2
looks fantastic.
This should have been episode 2, or episode 3. And there was something in the book they had mentioned the kingdom of the three daughters, which I was like and I guess that's what they meant by the triarchy, because I was trying to figure, okay, well where's the kingdom of the three daughters, and it has to do with some old Valerian legend, but it ended up being the triarchy.
Yeah,
Let's see, let's see what people are saying, because it's some
we're
really good
saying a
stuff.
lot.
Yes. Darth Vader says a woman admiral from an Eastern culture, not likely. A pirate queen, sure, that's happened before, but that's different from a fleet action. Oh, interesting. Um, and also
Yeah,
says,
fleet action is a military operation. There's a lot of communication and coordination. This is much more like mercenaries.
I sail with no man unless he beats me in a fight, and the line goes around the corner. And Darth Vader also says triarchy was a composite of the Barbary pirates and the Ottoman.
Oh, that makes
Sweet,
sense.
sweet, 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 sweet. And Kimberly, you're so sweet. Thank you. You're so adorable. Um, and Moonbeam says introducing new characters in the season finale is like introducing the Misfits at the end of Gem. It doesn't work. Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah, I remember
What a
that
line.
disappointment. Um, Sherry Lee says, I wonder if the bastards will be as loyal as Jace. I don't think so. They're set up. They're set up to be a little bit,
Of a
you know,
problem.
yeah, as we can tell with Ulf. Unfortunately, they are writing him terribly. I
Yeah.
will say they started out well, and right now they're making him. It's okay to hate the character, but I just hate the way he's written. I mean, I like literally hate the way they've put the pen to paper on this. Um,
100%.
and Darth Plagueis says the three daughters are the colonies of Valyria, similar to the let's see if I can say this name, Tripolitania of North Africa, Tunis, Tripoli, Algiers, the offshoots of the Ottoman Turks. Wow, 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 wow! You're so incredibly knowledgeable about this.
Well, and Darth Plato showed us a map, and
Yeah,
those three islands are like the most strategically placed in all of this world. So the fact that they would even ask for it
yeah,
is like, hey, why don't you throw in the Panama Canal while you're at it? It's like it's a big ask, and he's like,
yeah,
maybe. I'm like, really? That strategic of a location?
yeah. It yeah, it's pretty wild. Um,
Yeah.
Maria Kelly says, anyone else think that Mysterio will still be Rhaenyra's Master of Whispers in the season 3? Um, Alice, Ancient Alien
Probably.
Theorist says yes, and so, yeah, I think so, but I think she may fade away because in the actual story she doesn't. She just doesn't. Um, they mention her once and then they don't mention her again.
Yeah, but now that they've kissed, I think the showrunners have to consider what jettisoning that theme would do. So I think they're going to keep her, and I think they're going to double down. I think they're going to, because like I said, in the finale,
No.
there was no evidence of romantic interest, but
Yeah.
it's probably because they shot those scenes first
Yes,
before
I
they
heard
shot
that's
the
a
romantic scene.
possibility. Yeah.
So the actresses weren't playing the same characters essentially. So,
Yeah.
but I think now that they have 2 years to stir the witch's brew,
Yeah.
I think they're going to create a stronger LGBT
Oh no, I had a
story
horrible
with them.
thought. Ugh, I had a horrible thought that they were gonna probably like have them all three of them together as like a weird
Polyamorous.
yeah, yeah. Oh no. Just please I look, just just tell me the story that just make it good. I don't care if it is. Just give me a good one because in ancient times of Valerian history there was like a a one king that married two of his sisters, and they were crazy, but they were like they were conquerors, yeah. And I believe that was the first Aegon the Conqueror.
Different times, Retro.
Different times where they were they did some wild things. And so anything else I want to think of in the story? Just so like Damon looks just so fantastic. He just was made for armor.
Yeah, he looks great.
Oh yes, this scene here. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Let's talk about this scene, and we could talk about that scene too.
So I have such opposing thoughts on it because okay, so and I'll keep mine brief. Actually, why don't you start, Retro? Why don't you tell us what you think here? I want to know what you think.
Well, first of all, I think I have two distinct feelings about this, which is it sort of wrecks me a little. One is I actually understand why this scene exists.
You do?
Yes. Because it makes sense for what happens later on. That the book doesn't explain necessarily. And it seems unlikely based on how we have been going about things. I mean, people have been dying, fatalities. This is a very dangerous situation for everybody and anybody with royal blood. So they changed a lot of things that were in the book to
accommodate this scene,
to accommodate what's to happen. So that's why.
Okay.
So I think that's why this scene is here. So that's why I think it is. I still hated it. Okay, I hated it. Loved it. I love the acting. I love the words. These these actors are fantastic together. Any chance to get Alicent and Rhaenyra together on screen together, it's wonderful. They're really great. But this scene was not necessary, in my opinion. Because we already had a scene just like it, just the tables were turned, right?
But I would have not done the Sept scene. I would have only done this scene, meaning this is the first time, because
bingo.
Yes, because so first off, there's a lot of problems. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes an author is dialed in, and so when an outside group comes in, like, oh, let's just have them meet, they don't know what else they're disrupting. And the problem with this scene is half excellent, half terrible.
Yeah.
Because there's certain functional problems here. One, why doesn't this happen in history? Why don't we get more of this in history? Because she never should have let her leave. You know why? Because if you understand power dynamics.
Why? This is what I was saying. I like literally said the same thing. Like that.
Yes.
Thank you for showing up. You're now my prisoner.
Totally. But it's not just like you're playing a game and you're like, I'm going to get her. When you go to war like this, when this situation gets to this point, okay, there are people who have pledged themselves, their lives, the wealth of their homes, their armies, their all of that. They're all at risk because they took up her banner. Same thing with everyone who took up Rhaenyra's banner. So when you show up at my house, all the people who risk their lives to take my side in this battle, I can't let them down.
Yeah.
Because we were childhood friends. That's good. Sorry. What I would do? I would be like, you make a very compelling case for peace.
Yes.
I'm going to keep you as a guest in my castle where you and I will discuss this in the coming months.
Yes.
And hopefully we can come to a resolution. I wouldn't call her a hostage. I would just make her one anyway.
Yes.
And then she's not going to leave. She's not going to leave there. And you know what? That's the way that should go. That's the way that should go down.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but when people's lives are at stake on your behalf, you don't forget about all them because these two were, cutesy
yeah,
friends when they were
yeah,
kids. That ship has sailed. I'm sorry.
it has.
Two, if Alicent comes across as a little bit more broken in this version,
Oh,
she's a little bit more like, they don't even need me in the council anymore. I don't have any more power. I'm on your side, kind of. I'm
yeah,
conceding.
yeah.
And it's like,
They've taken
dude, if
everything
you were
away
going
from
to
her.
concede, you
Yeah,
should have done it last year before all
yeah,
of this got this bad. So,
exactly.
so it really bothered me that she changed her mind to that degree.
Yeah,
Third, it bothered the end bothered me here because Damon just bent the knee. So
yeah,
there's one rival out of the way. She shows up and she basically concedes. That's another rival out of the way. And then Aegon flees. So it's like they're clear. All the rivals gave themselves up. So in the season finale, when we should be ratcheting it up, everyone concedes and kind of strengthens her position instead. Now, to your point, Retro, and I believe you, I trust you. Probably all will be forgiven when we see what they have in store for us, but we have to wait 2 years to get there.
I know.
I'm just saying this scene had so many functional problems to
Oh,
it.
yes, yes,
It shouldn't have happened.
yeah,
They should have met in a place where mutually assured destruction was possible,
yes.
famously known in chess as a queen's gambit.
Mhm.
Show us a queen's gambit where they both bring dragons, they can both annihilate each other on some level, or they both bring their best King's Guard with them and they
Yes.
meet somewhere, and then hash it out.
Yes.
You know, because like you said, there is something interesting about seeing these two queens talk.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
but we've already
seeing
seen
that.
it. They already did it
Yeah.
earlier.
And let me just mention something about the earlier scene and why I feel it was unnecessary. We talked about it and we have said that that scene, although wonderful, also it was wonderfully done. It was a mirror to an earlier scene with Rhaenyra and Alicent. It still was bad from a writing perspective because it only was it was a purpose for us mainly. Now, I will say this, after that meeting, Alicent does take different actions that we didn't, that because of that meeting. She decides that she wants to read the old texts and learn about what's going on. So I will say that. But for that was mostly for us. So we can have the verbal confirmation that there was a mistake made. And that these girls, it wasn't going to be fixed in that moment. There was no way to turn. It was too late, long time ago, when people started dying.
Well, but you could have actually. So you're right. You're actually very right about the fact that the first meeting got into Alicent's head.
Yeah, it did,
made her really mull it up. But I think from a writing standpoint, better to have her learn another way. Have someone sing the Song of Fire and Ice and have her, what did you just say?
Yes.
What did you just say? And then, and then suddenly she's like, OMG.
Yes!
Did
That's it.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, she could have found out and it could have been very dramatic, especially if it caught her off guard. And then you could save a scene like this for now. Like you said, I agree with you. This is there's something about the scene that was cool.
Yes.
But not if that first scene already existed and not as they set it up. But it could have happened. We could have gotten away with it.
Yes.
And it would have been real interesting to see Alicent slowly figure out on her own that she completely botched the final words of the dying king.
Yes. Now there is a scene of Alicent going into the woods and becoming one with the earth and all that, and I did not care for that so much. There are many ways to show us that a character is going through something, but we did not need all of that. But okay, fine. She went through something and she's now kind of changing. We also have that might have been a wonderful time to have that meeting. Like, okay, somebody sent a raven and suddenly Rhaenyra's there with her best man and they're talking woman to woman. But not at Rhaenyra's place.
Yeah, man, that's a big risk.
it not only is a huge risk, it's also it's strategically just awful.
Malfeasance.
Even if you came there with a troop of people, like it still was a bad plan. And I think from a writing perspective, they have to understand people are saying why is she just leaving? And then the agreement that they make, and this is the part that I said it may actually mean something later on, is the agreement of like, I want Aegon's head. Okay. I want Aegon's head, and you're going to have the doors open for me for the city, to the city. And I'm going to be, take the city. So all of that makes sense later, but it doesn't make sense now when you're like, okay,
Right.
why are you ready to give up your son?
Yeah. It makes her look very weak to offer that as a bargaining chip.
Yeah. Just to end the war? That's your son. I
Yeah.
mean, I know a lot of bad mothers out there. I don't think they would just say, I mean, Dad,
Well, and also,
your son is still alive,
well, and Damon, who is on the side of Rhaenyra, already snuck in with the blood and cheese situation. So, like, I would be like, dude, no, like that's not it. It's not even Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always think of that line in The Bride where she's like, even Steven, I'd have to kill all of these people, then we'd be square.
Yes.
So yeah, the intent is there, the dramatic meaning of the moment is there, but oh, and by the way, the positives I was going to say.
Yeah.
So if the producer comes to me and says something like, Doug, we know it doesn't make sense, just write a scene with Rhaenyra and Alicent, just make it happen, right? Let's say that was tasked to me.
Okay.
And I wrote this.
Yeah.
The dialogue was actually very good, and the acting was epic. I thought both actresses, for a scene that made little sense, I still found myself getting sucked into the scene because Rhaenyra looked very queenly. Mm-hmm. She just kind of stood there and she didn't move a lot. She was very stoic, and Alicent seemed to be pleading on the verge of desperation, and yet still maintained some dignity as like woman to woman, friend, old friends, mother to mother. How do we stop the dying? How, like, I'm putting myself in this vulnerable position in order, to show you how seriously I don't want everyone to die.
Yeah.
Which Rhaenyra has to take seriously on some level because it's a peace offering, really.
Yeah.
It's a concession. So in some ways, as much as I was mentally bothered by the scene, strategically, I really appreciated the dialogue and the acting that went on in this scene.
Yes, I mean, it's complicated. I liked it and I hated it at the same time.
Yeah.
And it does complicate things. But like I said, later on, it might have cleared some things up that the book did not address. And Darth Vader says, have we forgotten that Alicent attacked Rhaenyra with a knife in season 1? Yes, she did. Yeah, and it's just like these guys, they used to be best friends and then they became enemies. And how do you navigate that? Like they keep trying to come back together somehow. I'm sure we're going to see more scenes with them together with this kind of dialogue thing going on. But
well, I was trying to think of an example of a movie that did something similar, and oddly, I came up with the movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. What's that?
I have not seen Heat.
Oh, okay. Then I won't go into great detail, but there is a scene where they meet each other at like a diner, and it's a bizarre scene. They're trying to kill each other. They're out to get each other. And they decide to meet and they have this conversation inside this diner. And then they go their separate ways with the understanding that, although this was kind of cool, if you get in my way, I'll destroy you.
Yeah.
But they did that early in the story. And you didn't have armies and wars and castles and fealty and all that comes along with making a claim to the throne that these two have done. So, you know, there's a lot there. And to me, on the writing level, again, it messes with world building. I don't think George R. Martin would have written this scene if he was left to his own devices, because the scene would not exist knowing what he knows about the world.
And you know, what I feel at this point is that the story is really putting its heels in and saying this story is about these two women for sure.
Oh yeah.
And it's not actually. It's not actually about these two women.
Well, what's weird is they're ruining that theme because of such good writing. Because the conflict, which early on seemed like, oh, what a tragedy. Now they're on two different sides. Now so many events have transpired, which is they have brilliantly gotten me, the viewer, to look at these two and be like, that's irreconcilable.
Yes.
That's actually great writing.
Yeah.
So to your point, don't try to force that back if you've moved past that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That they're just two women who, you know, have a complicated relationship, but they really care for each other. No, like
doesn't matter.
They used to care for each other, but we're talking about kids that they've had that have been killed. They have been, you know, part of the problem.
Totally.
For, you know, on both sides. So, and at this point, Rhaenyra has a lot more that she's lost. She's lost a son. And let's not forget, she had a horrible miscarriage because of during the time that her father was dying, and this whole thing was going down where Alicent was taking over, and that created a lot of pain and suffering for her. So she's got two kids for sure that she's lost. She's got her confidant Rhaenyra died. They lost a dragon. And let me see, anybody else? Right now, that's our kill list on Rhaenyra's side.
The kill list.
That's a lot, you know. And so we, you know, there's too many losses on her side to ever even want to be in the same room with this lady. Like, I'd be like, if I see you, I'm gonna claw your face out.
Yeah.
Like, there should be so much anger, and that's the only thing that I was kind of felt like it was missing, like the absolute rage that would come about for this.
Totally.
And the most, you know, that we're not really even tapping the surface, but I mean, yeah, this is very complicated. There is a helpful moment, I think, that it will serve later on, but I also feel like, no, we're tired. I'm tired of these two meeting up and doing this. I'm ready for, even though they're excellent together, I want them, are they enemies? Because of all of the crap that Rhaenyra has gone through. That throne is hers, you know?
Right.
And so why are we just talking here? At this point, I'm, you know, and I think the audience is clearly like mostly all Rhaenyra, which I think before they were tapping on like, okay, whose side are you on? Are you for the greens or the blacks? And it's like, split. Now it's like, dude, you gotta, you know, most people are on Rhaenyra's team, like saying, okay, look,
100%.
What's, you know, that Alicent deserves what she gets for her hand in fooling around with the order of things. She messed with the way things were supposed to be, and she knows it now. Which we're satisfied with that.
You know, I would have enjoyed better to hear her say, you know what, it's possible that I misunderstood the king, but that's too late. You know, now we play to win. Yeah. Because that's where she should be. Yeah. If I was in her shoes and I bet the farm because I heard what the king said, and I'm, you know, Rhaenyra's up to no good because I heard what the king said, I'm doing the right thing. If I believe that, and I committed myself and everyone behind me to this course of action. And then it came up like, oh my God, the Song of Ice and Fire, or the Song of Ice and Fire. Oh my God, I might have blew it.
Yeah.
There would have to be a moment where I come to terms with the mistake that I made and a renewed effort to winning this war. Yeah. And instead, she's kind of giving herself up. So it makes you not want to cheer for her. If she's not going to cheer for her side, don't ask me to.
Going to let Aegon die. Like, I mean, he's not the nicest person in the world, but he's in a very vulnerable state. He needs your love. Poor kid was like, "Mommy," at one of the scenes. Like, it was horrible. And she's walking out of the room. And she hasn't even really been back there to take care of him.
Yeah, there's no mother.
She's been an absentee mother for all of her kids. And now she's like, at least I think most people are like, Allison deserves exactly what she gets for her part in all of this, and for not really even being a character we like anymore.
Right. Well, and that could work in season 3, but I think she needs to commit to a course of action if we're gonna like her character again.
Yes.
And getting back to Aegon, one of my issues with Aegon is we didn't like him. Mm-hmm. But it's not like Joffrey Baratheon from Game of Thrones, somebody who was genuinely sadistic, genuinely evil. Yeah. Aegon came across to me as, I think him. He came across as simply wishing he was an adult, wishing he had the respect that other commanders and kings have had. So he came across really, his big flaw was impetuousness and immaturity.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a much more forgivable set of problems than, let's say, Aegon, who just torched a city.
Oh, yeah.
or I mean, Aemond, who just torched a city.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yes.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is her willingness to kill this guy is a little bit more difficult to go. The guy was maimed.
Crazy.
Yeah. His story about what happened to him as he was burning alive made every guy cross his legs when they heard it. Oh, my God. I hated it. But it's like, all of that makes me sympathize with this guy. So for her to say, okay, go ahead and kill him. I'm like, dude, he's like laying half dead. He lost his manhood. Like, dude, you're going to let it. So, if it was Joffrey Baratheon or someone who's sadistic and evil, then it's like, okay, even the mother knows this guy's bad news.
Yeah.
He didn't quite earn the loveless betrayal of his mother. I don't think he earned it.
Absolutely. Like I was kind of shaking my head like, she's just going to turn over her son like this. Now I like the drama of that moment as far as like me having to ask that question.
Right.
But if that is, if that's going to lead somewhere very interesting, but I'm trying to think story-wise how that can work. This guy is more of a buffoon, kind of innocent. I mean, he's burnt and he's like, yes, I want to be the realm's delight. Like, I mean, you feel bad for him, but you also feel like, oh man, if you weren't so probably I'll use the word that you used before. Was it impetuous?
Yeah.
Yeah. If he wasn't, so maybe he wouldn't have stormed out into that battle when he wasn't even ready and just make a huge mistake, fatally make a mistake. And luckily, he did not die. But I'm sure
Plato does bring up a good point. He did do something that was a little on the sadistic side. He hung all the rat catchers to get one guy, which is true. However, that is a power play on some level, and I felt that it was still an inexperienced power play.
Yes.
More so than his base personality. That was my take anyway. But there's Plato, you're totally right. He did do that. That is a kind of
he did do that. Initially, he was sort of just the buffoon king who kind of wanted to do good things, but he was getting advice to be more stern, and he wanted to have fun. he wanted to go to the brothels, he wanted to drink, he wanted to win wars, and you can't do it all. And so
Right.
he and he didn't even want to go into war until this whole situation with his son dying. And that was uh, I love the way that was built. Okay, written where he's like connecting with his son and he's loving it. He's like, oh yeah, my son. And then at the same time, he's he gets sort of treated, to this kind of thing. It's just really uh, kind of sad to see what happened with his son and how it affected him. It really
Oh
affected him
yeah.
in a great deal, changed his personality and made him cold. And you can understand that. But of course, he did go off the deep end where it was just crazy. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry I kept you on for so long.
Oh, that's okay.
Because this
This
is
was
such
a
a good.
good discussion.
Yes, yes. And were there any other things that you wanted to speak about in particular with this show?
Only that I was very disappointed with the finale.
Yes.
So I am on everybody's side who has complaints about it and is frustrated with the way season 2 ended.
Yeah,
I
me too.
was frustrated with the slower episode. Let me retract. I didn't mind the slower episodes because I believed the finale was going to be big. Now that I know that the finale wasn't anything really, now I'm a little bit more frustrated with the slower episodes. So I
Yes.
think season 2 really, I think the real story at the end of all of this one day will be this was a repositioning from a gambled show 2 years ago to a cultural success and phenomenon.
Yeah.
So this was the season where I think the repositioning happened. This is where the sacrifices were made. And I believe the decision was made, let's pull off the Band-Aid in season 2 and go for the swing for the fences in season 3.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and if they do, from what Retro's told me, it sounds like the story set up for season 3 is going to be spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
From what I sense in terms of budget and practical issues, season 3 seems like like all the money's going to be there.
Yeah.
They can do fewer episodes and they could just, slug it out on screen with dragons.
Yes.
So I have a good feeling about season 3. And my prediction is that all of us who are upset will come back and we will watch that first episode of season 3. It's probably going to blow our hair back and then we're all going to come back and we're going to forget about this.
Yes.
And we're all I think we're going to love season 3. That is my belief.
I think so too. I feel as if yes, season 2 should start off rather incredibly. I mean, I think I've explained to you guys what I think is based on my memory of the book, like how it goes down is just insanely good. And I think a lot of the subtle things that may have annoyed us in this season may have a better payoff for us later. And that is me like just thinking about the story like, okay, yeah, there could have been a little bit more in the book and they actually filled in a spot here. So
Interesting.
yeah, so that's something we'll get to for those of you not willing to wait 2 years, go ahead and read the book. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I believe there's
Stay with us. Stick with us. Trust us, and we'll all be back in a couple of years.
Yeah, at least we'll be able to say like at least the first 2 episodes it should be interesting. The rest, I don't know. I hope these writers don't get discouraged by people feeling a little bit disappointed by some of this. That they should continue. There's still a lot of great stuff. We didn't even touch on Maylee's victorious ending and how wonderful that was. How wonderfully written that scene was, and just that episode in general was just incredible. And there was a lot we didn't touch on, but from what we did touch on, I hope that gives you a better idea. Now, Doug, where can people find you?
You can find me right now on my website, douglasaburton.com. One of the things Retro and I first connected on was the book that came out this year. It's a book on storytelling. So if you're a writer, this book will help you.
Yes.
It will help on some level. It's an alternative to the hero's journey. Retro and I have covered it. I would say pretty extensively. We went deep one night, really digging into it. Retro had a lot of great questions, and we analyzed several different movies and stories. So if you're interested, you'll find a small video there for a little taste. I am also on Twitter and Facebook. You could find me. So if you want to know a little bit more about me, those are some great starting points.
Yes, and I've also put your website in the chat as well.
Oh, thank you.
So a link for you. And most likely, I'm not sure if I have it there now, but in a few hours, I'll have the link in the description for you guys to be able to find Doug easily, and his book, The Heron's Labyrinth. I also will be shooting out some videos soon of some clips of some talks that we've had, and definitely I want to do a short little bit with The Heron's Labyrinth, because right now it's in like a 5-hour video.
6.
Yeah, 6-hour video.
We went all the way, Retro.
I know we really went deep dive in it, and which was such a joy. We could have talked longer, trust me. But I definitely will be posting something, so look out for that. And anything else? I think I'm all done, guys. Tomorrow, I have a watch party for Red Sonja, 1985. Ooh. Yes. And some other things coming up. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to my next time out with Retro. We're going to be watching one of the all-time classic stories, Wizard of Oz. Yes. That is going to be a blast. I've been thinking about it. I'm looking forward to it. So that is next Saturday, right?
Yeah, that's next Saturday. And that should be a lot of fun, guys. I hope to see most of you there if possible. And hopefully you guys will be able to join me. I'm also going to be over at Lorena's Creole's channel tomorrow. We're going to be watching E.T., which that'll be a lot of fun. I haven't seen E.T. in years.
That's awesome.
So we're going to hang out and do that. And Bonzo says, I'll look at you, my pretty.
That is hysterical.
Well, okay, guys. Well, I think we're going to let Doug go. I could talk to him for another like 4 hours, but we're going to take, give him a chance to have.
Yeah, I love talking to I love that. And I appreciate you inviting me on, because I do love talking to you, Retro. And there's always a deep well that we fall into. So that's a good thing.
Okay, and so I'm going to have also a short outro on this, because we're going to do it hot and fast. So I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow, but if you can't make it tomorrow, I'll see you in another one of these. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.